this young man?
This guy.
1 year old. What's his name?
taller than you and you
Sir,
Ibrahim hasn't told you his name either.
Yeah,
Oh wait, I told you.
I think it, okay, good. Okay, so for all of you, from the 1 year old all the way up to the 19-year-old and everyone in between, all of you to Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, good. So we have a big variety of ages here at 14, alhamdulillah, and lots of different people of different ages, and no doubt you're going through different things in life. But every single one of you has been called here to the majlis by Imam Hussein directly. Okay? Don't think that you're here because, oh, your mum made you come, your dad made you come, because you had to sign up. That's not true. They did. They did. But Imam Hussein chose for every single one of you to come to this majlis. Imam Hussein chooses everyone who goes either to visit him, or to go to the majlis, or to go and mourn for him. He's thinking of you, and he knows you. The last thing that he said before he died to someone else was, whenever you speak to one of my followers, tell them about what happened to me. And tell them when they drink cold water, think of me. And when you see a stranger in the country, think of me. So he's talking to all of you. He's not talking to people who are around him. He's saying anyone else who's going to come later, tell them what happened to me on the day of Ashura. Don't let anyone forget what happened. And that's why the 1-year-old is here, the 7-year-old is here, the 10-year-old, the 15-year-old, because you're all here for that same reason. I want to learn from Prophet ﷺ, and I want to take something from his life that I can improve. Okay, good. Question for all of you. This one word I'm going to say is the most important word for the whole Ashra. Who knows what it means? The word is reform. Anyone heard that word before? Reform? Asad, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard the word before?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
To change.
To change, okay? It's more than just to change, but it's part of it. Anyone else heard the word reform? Yes? What's your name again? I have to remember the name because I asked before. That's my fault. Okay, Zain. What does reform mean?
Make something better.
Make something better. So change something, make it better, good. What else?
Make it beautiful.
Make it beautiful. Very good. Any other ideas? Everyone say the word together. Reform. Say it together. Reform. If anyone asks you what's one thing you learned from Muhammad ﷺ, you say, I learned about reform. Reform is when you take something back to how it was originally. Okay? Let's say you have something and it changes and it goes something and it becomes bad, or it gets lost, or you can't find it, or it becomes, it's gone off somehow. Reform is taking it back to when it was originally perfect. Okay? So what's reform? Going back to when something was good, when it's not good anymore. When someone said to Imam Hussein, why are you going to Karbala? What for? He's setting out with all his family, or most of his family, and some of his friends, and they're walking in a caravan towards Kufa. They've not yet gone to Karbala. Someone says, why are you leaving? Why are you doing all of this movement, taking your young women, children, 1-year-old, 6-month-old, 10-year-old? Why? He says, to them all so that they know. إِنِّي لَمْ أُخْرَجْ عَشَرًا وَلَا أَبَاطِرًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا وَلَا ظَالِمًا. I am not leaving my family and friends because I want to cause disunity. I want to become famous. I don't want to become people who know me. I don't want to cause any corruption. إِنِّي مَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّتِي جَدِّي. I am leaving because I want reform. That's why I'm doing all of this. Karbala, Ashura, Matam, Noha, all of it comes from this one aim from the Imam. I want to reform. I want to bring things back to how they were. So it seems like things used to be great. There used to be truth and honesty. And in the life of the Imam Hussein, he's seeing, you know what, things are changing. Things are becoming worse. And they've gone not how they were meant to be. And I've got to do reform and go back to how it originally was. Are you guys with me, inshallah? So what's reform? Who can tell me what reform means? Anyone who's not spoken yet? Yes, sister, what's reform?
To go back to something which is now bad, but when it was good before.
Perfect answer. Go back to something which is now bad. Make it good again. Good. And why does Imam Hussein Islam go to Karbala? What's his whole aim? What does he want? Who knows?
Reform.
Reform. Okay. Now someone might ask then, what does it mean to reform in Imam Hussein's time? What's he trying to change? Okay. Who's our first Imam?
Imam Ali.
Second Imam?
Imam Hussein.
Third Imam?
Imam Hussein.
Good. Imam Hussein was saying, are the grandson of which prophet? Good. When the Prophet died, he was the one who established law, goodness, righteousness, akhlaq, everything. And with him was the Quran. And these two things were supreme. If you need any problem, you go to Rasulullah, you go to the Quran. Everything is there. But after the Prophet died, something happened where the family of the Prophet were no longer being listened to. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali, people weren't listening to them anymore. They didn't give them authority, they didn't give them power, they did not give them their rights. And because they took them away from their rights, things started to fall away. People were not praying in the right way anymore. People weren't following the Prophet anymore. People weren't reading the Quran anymore. There was so much bloodshed and fighting and war because of this one thing. They no longer respected Ahlul Bayt and the Quran. So now here comes Imam Hussein alayhi salam, going out and saying, I want to reform. He's saying, I want to go back to how things were, where you go back to the Prophet and you go back to the Quran. And right now, people are not following these things anymore. Once he says, why is no one following the sunnah of my grandfather? And why is everyone doing innovation? It's not right. So we have to go back. All right. Anyone know what an Easter egg is? Not like a literal Easter egg. Not like an actual Easter egg that you buy and shop and eat at Easter. I don't mean that. But you know when you have an Easter egg, you know what it is, yes, sister? Like a surprise. Good. And where do you often find Easter eggs?
In the garden.
In the garden. Oh, that's where you're like. Where else do you find Easter eggs? Yeah.
Pots of trees.
Somewhere where it's not meant to be or you weren't expecting it. Okay. Sometimes you play a game or you watch a movie and there's Easter eggs in the film or the game that you don't know about unless you find out to look for it. Okay? An Easter egg is like a secret. But when you find it, it makes it better. If you listen to the majlis, you're going to hear the same things every year. This, and this. But if you pay attention, there's certain secrets of Easter eggs which are hidden inside the day of Ashura, which you won't know to look for unless you know what you're looking for. And they tell us exactly what Hussein is going to reform. I'll give you an example. Okay? Do you guys want to hear an example of an Easter egg? Okay. Every time Imam Hussein is praying namaz, until Ashura, the same person is doing adhan. That person is a companion called Hajjad al-Masruq. He's always doing adhan. They stop at Furat, he's doing adhan. They stop here, adhan. They stop adhan. But on the day of Ashura, who's doing the adhan in the morning? Who reads the adhan for the last time? Anyone put their hand up and know who does adhan for the last time?
Ali Akbar.
Ali Akbar. Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. Hold on a second. From the beginning until now, there's the same companion doing adhan. Hajjaj. Every time we do adhan, him. But on the day of Ashura morning, a Muslim says, no, I'm going to change the adhan to Ali Akbar. Who can think, why would he do something like that? It makes no sense. Every day, same adhan. But on the day of Ashura, we have a different person, Ali Akbar. Why? Who's got an idea of why he wanted to change this? By the way, this is an Easter egg, by the way, that you won't know. When you got your hand up, I'm going to choose you and then you can speak, okay? Go ahead.
Because it will be boring.
No, but why is he changing the adhan? Why? Why would he do something like that? Imagine every day you have the same person doing adhan. Ashura, the world is watching, new person doing adhan. Ali Akbar doing adhan. Why? What is he trying to gain? Go ahead, sister.
I think it's because he was the first people to die on the day of Allah.
Could be Ali Akbar was the first of the family members of the Imam to die. So after all his friends have gone and have sacrificed himself, the first family member is Ali Akbar. Good. That's true, but I don't think that's why. Any ideas, yes, sister? Give someone else a chance, but why Ali Akbar? Why give him a chance? What is it about him that is so special? Yeah, go ahead, Abbas.
He's of the family of the Prophet.
The family of the Prophet, but what about him is so close to the Prophet himself?
I know he's
Abbas?
he's the first member.
He's I'm sorry?
So Ali Akbar, his face and his voice resemble that of the Prophet.
There you go. Read the salawat for Ali Brother Misa. Everyone. He's fair, he got help from all of you, but that's true. That's the reason why. Because the Imam Hussein is saying, you know what, all of you people who are fighting against me, have you forgotten? I'm the grandson of the Prophet. That's literally my grandfather, the Holy Prophet, who's your Prophet. And you've forgotten it. So I'm going to show you in the morning that the one who's most similar to the Prophet, who sounds like the Prophet, who looks like the Prophet, that's my son. And he's the one doing adhan. So you know, I'm with the Prophet, not you. That's an Easter egg, okay? You won't know that. Imam is saying, you have all forgotten the Prophet, but I remember the Prophet. And I'm going to take you back. Okay. Another Easter egg about this same thing. Who's been to Karbala before for ziyarah? Who's been? Put your hand up if you've been to Karbala. You've been for ziyarah? Okay. Couple here, couple there. Good. Hands down. Anyone been on the birthday of Imam Zaman alayhi salam, 15th Sha'ban? Okay. If you go to Karbala for ziyarah on the birthday of our Imam Zamana, 15th of Sha'ban, you get a reward where it's as if you have shaken the hands of all of the prophets that ever lived. How many prophets have we got? Who knows? Hands up. How many Anbiya?
4 pockets.
No, more than 4. How many prophets have we got? You can think. Any sisters who knows? Yeah, we already answered one. I didn't pick you, bro. You got away. How many prophets are there? 124,000. If you go to Karbala for ziyarat on that day of Ramadan, it's like you've shaken hands with every single one of the prophets. That's an Easter egg. Because you're not getting normal reward, you're getting an extra reward, which you don't know about. But here's the question. Why is going to 1% like you're visiting all of the prophets? Why? He's one Imam. One Imam. 124,000 prophets. And I'm going to him once and getting a reward of all of the Anbiya. Why do you think that is? Go ahead, Joanne.
Because he's the
Grandson of one prophet. So if I said to you, you go, you can shake hands with Prophet Muhammad, that makes sense. He's his grandson. But you're getting the reward of every single prophet just for seeing Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So it's more than just that. Why is he getting such a massive reward? Have you got any ideas, bro? Yes, sister, go ahead. I'll come back to you. Because he saved the message of which prophets? And all of them, right? So there's an Easter egg. Imam Hussein is not just saving Rasulullah, he's saving Imam Isa, Prophet Musa, Prophet Ibrahim, all of them. And just by visiting him, you're saying, you know what, Imam Hussein? You succeeded in saving all of their messages. Alright, what's your name again, sister? Salawat for Sister Khanza, everyone. Allah. Question for all of you. If you go to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, on which day, what then you get the reward for seeing all the prophets? Which day? Who remembers? Who remembers who's not spoken yet? Yes, brother. 15th of? Think about it.
July.
No? Think about it. 15th of, yes, sister?
15th of
Sha'ban. And who's born on that day, 15th Sha'ban? Yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Yeah, brother. Who's born 15th Sha'ban?
Imam Ali.
No, no. Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Good. So you get a reward of 21. Okay, very good. Good job. We just started on Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Who wants another Easter egg? One more? Okay, I'll give one more. Alright. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam is fighting, okay, he prays his dhuhr with everyone. They all pray dhuhr together. And a few of his companions are standing up while he's praying dhuhr because the enemy are still fighting against them. You know, we just prayed dhuhr just now, no one harmed us. When they prayed dhuhr namaz then, it was in the middle of the desert, and a few companions like Sa'd bin Abdullah and Muslim bin Awsaja are standing up, and they are literally, the arrows are coming to Imam Hussein while he's praying namaz. And these two companions are standing in front of him, and they are catching arrows in their body to make sure it doesn't touch their imam. Imagine how much love you have to have for your imam, that I'll stand still while you pray, and if anyone wants to harm you, they have to go through me first. That's what they were doing. Imam prays dhuhr with all of his companions. Who did he pray asr with? Put your hand up if you know. Who did he pray asr with when he's praying asr? Dhuhr, everyone together. After he prays asr, but who's he praying asr with? Who's he with? Yes, sister? No one. He's praying asr alone. No one's near him. He gets off his horse, he goes down to pray namaz, and it's when he goes down into sajda to pray asr namaz, when the enemy come and attack him, and finally they go towards making him shaheed. Here's the Easter egg for all of you. Why did he pray dhuhr with everyone, but asr alone? What is he trying to show to all of you? Dhuhr, when you've got friends, someone's defending you, someone's standing with you. Asr, there's no one with you, but you're still praying. What is he trying to show us by praying asr alone? Think about it for a second, everyone. Just think for a second, and then I'll pick you, okay? Dhuhr, everyone together, no problem. Asr, I'm going to pray alone. In the middle of the battlefield, around swords and arrows. What is he trying to show us? What's the Easter egg here? Keep thinking, I'm not yet, Nasr, not yet. Think. And someone who's thinking, I've not spoken, but I want to have a try, I want them to put their hand up and give a go. What is he trying to show us about us? What's your name again, bro?
Ali.
Ali, what's he trying to show us?
Salah is the most important thing.
Namaz, salah is the most important thing. Excellent. That's the best point. No matter what you're doing in your life, you're at school, you're with your friends, you're out with your family, you're going to the beach. Is anything more important than salah? No. He proved it because he's literally in the battlefield and there's arrows flying around and he still prayed. No one around him, no one to defend him, and he still prayed. So that's more important. You won't know that unless you realize he's trying to show us something. Until now, people have forgotten about namaz. They're not praying it anymore. But I will show you to reform, to go back to how it used to be with the Holy Prophet. When there was no one praying, the Prophet and Imam Ali would pray in the beginning. Nothing will stop us. So that's reform. Reform means going back to how it was. Right now, people are no longer respecting the prophets. He shows you, and he does adhan. People aren't praying anymore. I'll show you about namaz. I'll pray and I'll show you. No matter if you're on the battlefield, you still pray. That's reform. Okay. At this point, are there any questions about this? Anyone wants to ask about reform or anything? Is that a question you've got? What's the question?
So when he said that people forgot about namaz, and when Prophet he said that Ali is now the new leader, but why didn't they listen to Ali?
It's a very good question. The Prophet said, do you know when he said it? Do you know what it was at the day of Ghadir? At the day of Ghadir, the Prophet, which is not long before he died, very short before he died, the Prophet goes to an open area. He gets loads of the, camels that they used to ride, they have saddles on them. He piles them up. So it's a very tall mountain. He stands on the top, holds the hand of Ali in front of everyone and says, whoever says, I am their master, Ali is their master. And everyone says, congratulations, Ali, congratulations, you're the Imam, you're the Imam, you're the Imam. But what happens? When the Prophet dies, they go to the Imam Ali? No. Some of the companions go to a special place, a secret place called Saqifa, and they say, you know what? We should be in charge, not Ali alayhi salam. And they choose among themselves to elect 1, 2, 3, and then after they say, Imam Ali, okay, now you're in charge. Everything that happens on Ashura is because of this moment. Because they did not want Imam Ali alayhi salam to be the Imam. One day on Ashura, Imam Sallallahu is fighting, says to them, was I a bad Imam to you? Did I do something wrong to you? Why are 30,000 people on Ashura fighting against 72 people? About 70 to 100. Why? And they say to them, because of what your father, Ali alayhi salam, did to our fathers in the battlefield. We can't forget it, we can't let it go. We hate your father, and so we're going to fight you. So that's a very good question. The reason why Imam Sallallahu is killed is because the enemy had so much hatred for his family, they couldn't let it go. They just couldn't. They had so much hatred for the Prophet's whole family, they were prepared to kill his family on the day of battlefield. Very good question. Any other questions anyone else wants to ask about Imam Hussein or Ashura or Reform? Okay, good. If you have, you can put your hand up, no problem. Over the next few nights, I want to discuss how each and every single one of us can improve or grow and reform. And I want to discuss the reform of one thing each night. Okay? One thing that you can reform. And I'm going to go through them now just so you know what's coming, inshallah. The first thing we can all reform is our heart. Okay? Inside every person is your heart. And in your heart, there's a battle going on right now. Every day, every second, there's a battle going on in your heart. And that heart is between two forces which want control of your heart. The real battlefield is actually in here. It's not out there, it's in here, inside you. You have a voice which tells you to do good deeds, and a voice which pushes you towards doing bad deeds. And every day of your life, you're fighting that battle between the aql, your reason, and your light, and between your shahwat, your desires. Your reason says, I want to pray. Your desire says, I want to sleep. Your reason says, I want to be respectful to my family. Your desire says, I want to talk back to my family. Your reason says, I want to tell the truth. It's the right thing to do. Your desires say, if I lie, I can get away with it. Every single day of your life, that's going on inside you. And there's two voices speaking at you in your heart. The voice of good and the voice of evil. And you choose, which voice do I listen to? The first type of reform we're going to go through, which is going to be tomorrow, is how do you win the battle inside where you're always, as much as you can, listening to the voice of your reason, of goodness, of righteousness. and you're not listening to the other voice inside you, which is pushing you towards loving this world and desires. That's the first type of reform. How do I become a better person in my heart? Okay. The next reform we're going to look at is the reform of the soul. Okay? What does that mean? If you all look in the mirror, you're going to see your face, your body, your hands, your legs, what you look like. But that's not you. That's only a part of you. What you are is something inside, which is your soul. And your soul has been created for one reason only. Imam Hussein says, your soul has been created for heaven, for Jannah. That's why you were made. So don't sell yourself for anything less than Jannah. Don't do anything to take you away from heaven. So then we're going to look at how do I reform my soul to make it go back towards a heavenly soul. And not the kind of soul that goes towards hell. Okay. So we've got reform of the heart. How can I win the battle inside? Reform of the soul. How do I make sure my soul is going towards heaven? Then we've got reform of the mind. Sometimes we all have negative thoughts. I feel down about myself. I feel bad about myself. I feel depressed. I feel like I can't do something. I don't feel confident. I don't feel like people want to be friends with me or respect me. That voice is in the mind. Imam Hussein helps us answer that voice as well. So how do we reform the mind in that way? Okay. Then you've got the body. How do I reform my body? Sometimes our body gets tired. Our body doesn't want to pray. Our body can become unhealthy, unwell. Islam helps you in your body as well. How should you eat? How should you sleep? How do you spend your day? It all comes back to Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein taught us how you should treat your body as well. So after we look at reform of the heart, reform of the soul, reform of the mind, we look at reform of the body. Once we get that right, we're now ready to reform people around us. So then we look at how do you reform your society, your family, people around you. How do you make them better? How do you go to God together? How do you reform your school and make people in your school better? How do you reform your place that you work? How do you reform your whole country and be a better member of your country? People look at you and they think, how great is your religion when you are this great yourself? And finally, we'll see how do you reform the whole world. How can you be someone who takes the whole world back to how it should have been? And you can join a movement which all of us together can join that one man who's taken us back to goodness in this world. We're going to get there, but we start off by saying, how do I change myself? And once I change myself, how can I change the whole world, inshallah? Are you guys going to be with me for the next, are you with me for the next 10 days? You're going to come every day, inshallah? Yeah? Bismillah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we end, inshallah, let's turn our minds and our hearts towards the suffering of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Take some time for yourself, think of what I'm about to say, look down to show that you are sad and listening. When I went through all of your ages today, I asked you, how old are you? One person is age, this age and that age. This is 18, 17, 16, 12, 11, different ages. Do you know that on Ashura, children that were your age were out there fighting for the Imam? Your age. Those of you who are around 18 years old, Ali Akbar is 18 years old. And we live our lives. That Ali Akbar who's 18, he says to his father, can I go and fight please? His father has to say, yes, I give permission for my 18-year-old son to put on armor, take a sword and go and fight for me. Imagine an 18-year-old doing this today. And when he goes and sees him, he sees an 18-year-old person, his child, with a spear inside his chest. And Islam needs to bend down and somehow pull the spear out from the chest of an 18-year-old boy and carry this body back to his mother. Okay. Some of you said you're around 14, 15, 16. Imagine a 14-year-old like Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam. 14 years old. They say he's so small that when he sits on his horse, they say that he can barely see him riding on the horse in the distance. 14-year-old child goes into the battlefield and they attack him so much that when he falls to the ground, they trample his body with horses. And this child is now calling out between the hooves of the horses saying, my uncle, come and help me. The horses are trampling my body. And a 14-year-old boy, his body is going in and out from the horse's hooves. Some of you are 13-year-olds. Do you know Hazrat On is 13 years old? How young is he? That when he's fighting, his brother is 11, he's 13, On and Muhammad. 13-year-old On breaks through and is fighting so bravely. But when he falls, all of these big men attack this one 13-year-old boy. 11. 11 is the age of Hazrat Muhammad. Imagine an 11-year-old alone without his brother fighting against the enemy. This is how young were the ages of those who died for Karbala. You are that same age. Imagine yourself in that position. Of all of those children who fought, you will not find anyone though who was younger than a 6-month-old child, Ali Asghar. 6-month-old baby. Has he done anything wrong in his life? Has he said anything wrong? No, he's a baby. He's done nothing wrong. All he wants is water. And when he cries, Abu Abdullah says, I have to take you water. While he's holding this 6-month-old child, he says to them, look, I am an adult, but this child has done nothing wrong. You have killed every single one of my children, my nephews, my cousins, but this 6-month-old did nothing wrong. Why won't you spare this 6-month-old? And even that young baby was killed by the enemy with an arrow which was longer than the body of that baby. Imam Hussein comes back, kneels down and buries this child. So now when he's walking towards his own death, he says, Ya Allah, I have orphaned all of these children for you, just for your happiness. An 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 6-month-old. All for you, Ya Allah. So now all of us raise our hands in dua. Everyone raise your hand as we pray to Allah that, Ya Allah, please let all of us children follow the example of those children. Ilahi. Say Ilahi, Ilahi. Let us all pray that we can all improve and reform and become better people, inshallah. Ilahi, Ameen. And just like those children helped their Imam, let us help our Imam Zaman alayhi salam in our life. Ilahi, Ameen, inshallah. اللهم إني نسألك بحق فاطمة وبها بعد بنيها والسر المستعوذ فيها أن تسأل الفرد عليكم ودعاء فرجع. Let's all stand up to do Matam, inshallah.
All the boys form a half semicircle over here, sing in the middle. And the girls. Okay, if everybody could pay attention to me. I want everybody to think, if they were there on the day of Ashura, would they also want to defend the family of the Prophet? As we heard in the Messiah, all the children helped, all the children defended. Would you have defended? Would you have wanted to stand and support your Imam? So please, if you can, join in with the Noha, and the words that I would like you to pay attention to, so that you're paying attention to the Matam, is saying, had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. Yes? Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. Countless voices crying, mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. On Ashura, the family of Hussein caused the earth to shake. On Ashura, the family of Hussein caused the earth to shake. It heard the swords clash across the fields, cries of Allah touch. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zaynab. cry so pure. Had I a sword, I would defend the widow Zainab. Countless voices cry in mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the widow Zainab. Paraded through the streets and markets to Kufa and Sham. Paraded through the streets and markets to Kufa and Sham. Oh people, did you not know them? They are of Rasul. Had I a sword, I would defend the widow Zainab. Countless voices cry in mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the widow Zainab. The court in Sham, the palace of Yazid, tied in chains in vain. The court in Sham, the palace of Yazid, tied in chains in pain. Zainab stood defending Islam for a soul so brave. Had I a sword to defend the veil of Zainab. Countless voices cry in mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. The tragedy of the martyrs will live in our hearts. The tragedy of the martyrs will live in our hearts. The lessons from those in Karbala, examples for us all. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Countless voices cry in mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. So now we stand grieving and mourning to show you Zainab. So now we stand grieving and mourning to show you Zainab. The sacrifice of Imam Hussein we will never forget. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Countless voices cry in mourning, weeping with grief and pain. Had I a sword, I would defend the veil of Zainab. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
वो देखो पानी आ रहा है, परचम हवा में लहरा रहा है। वो देखो पानी आ रहा है, देखो अलम है दरिया से आता, अब न रहेगा कोई भी प्यासा। परचम हवा में लहरा रहा है, वो देखो पानी आ रहा है, वो देखो पानी आ रहा है, वो देखो पानी आ रहा है। बोली सकीना नजदीक आओ, ए प्यासे बच्चों कूदे उठाओ। बाबा चचा को घर ला रहा है, वो देखो पानी आ रहा है। परचम हवा में लहरा रहा है, वो देखो पानी आ रहा है। جو سب سے چھوٹا گھر میں ہے بچہ پہلے اسی کو پانی میں لے گا اصغر ہے پیاسا گھبرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے جی بھر کے تم سب پانی کو پینا آخر میں سب سے بالی سکینہ پانی پیے گی وعدہ رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے حلقہ بنا لو کوزے اٹھا لو جو سو گئے ہیں ان کو جگا لو خود چل کے دریا اب آ رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے کہتے تھے آدھا پانی نہ دیں گے خوش ہو کے اب ہم پانی پئیں گے لشکر یزیدی شرما رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے دیکھو زمین پر گرنے نہ پائے پانی چچا ہے محنت سے لائے وقت مصیبت اب جا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے نادے علی کو مشق و علم پر دم کرتی رہتی تھی میں جو اکثر اس کا اثر اب رنگ لا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پانی سکینہ تم سب کو دینا بابا سے لے کر مشکیزہ اپنا غازی کا بیٹا سمجھا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے آیا علم تو بولی سکینہ اے پیاسے بچوں مشکل ہے جینا میرا یہ کہنا رلوا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پانی کہاں ہے اب پیاس کیسی امید کیسی آباس کیسی مجھ کو یہ جملہ شرما رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے پرچم ہوا میں لہرا رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے وہ دیکھو پانی آ رہا ہے
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا سيد نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله المجتبى السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله الآخر الأحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا السلام عليك يا سيدنا يا مولانا يا محمد عباس عليه السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا غريب الغرباء يا مولانا الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس يا غريب الطوس. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم مولانا يا صاحب الزمان، الأمان 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 من كل زمان وشر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، عجل الله تعالى وفرج وسهل الله مخرجا ونقولك إن شاء الله. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صلواتك في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا ودليلا معينا حتى
Yeah.